Previously on Power Reviews.
A synth-organic biomechanoid.
I saw the rift open.
The fluctuation in the cross-dimensional continuum.
What did you just do to this ship?
Going into the rift.
The Landlord.
You're not me!
A replica of my apartment?
It was the original.
I created Database Ranger. I offer this a new home.
Don't tell me you haven't missed it.
The wireless interdimensional interface portal alignment device.
Jungle Karma Pizza.
Sumerian Forest.
Sumerian Seal.
K-Alpha.
Get her to the ship and keep her safe.
Jump. And who is...
Hold on!
Goodbye. No, my child. She's quite resourceful.
Time to play!
It's Darkonda. The party ends now, Darkonda!
I swallowed him whole. You look like you've just seen a ghost. Or perhaps a dark spectre.
And now, Database Rangers Power Review.
Greetings, Ranger fans, and welcome to the face of evil.
Dark Spectre. I haven't heard that name in a very long time.
How is this possible? You were destroyed!
Correction. My body was destroyed. That was simply my chosen vessel, the reanimated husk of a burnt-out lava demon recovered off the coast of Muranthius, courtesy of your allies, the Turbo Rangers.
No.
You should have known that the Grand Monarch of Evil could not be destroyed so easily.
Not exactly sure I would call direct hits from a pair of plant-destroying super torpedoes easy.
Yes, interesting thing about those super torpedoes. Are you familiar with gravitational wave generation? Minute ripples in the space-time continuum. Normally, it would take a collision of black holes to create even the tiniest of vibrations, but after absorbing and synthesizing the knowledge of Earth's greatest scientists, my dear astronomer was able to develop those fascinating prototypes, able to amplify the phenomenon into something that could rip a planet apart at a conceptual level. However, it would appear that when two intensely powerful graviton emitters are detonated in close proximity to one another, those waves, those ripples in the space-time continuum, create a tear, a fissure, a rift. Exactly.
That's why I linked back to that day. November 20th, 1998. The day that the rift was created. The day that Dark Spectre.
The day that I survived. The day that I was exposed to the wide expanses of the multiverse. No. So you see, when you say that your friends will stop me, that together you can defeat me, I want you to understand the utter futility of that endeavor. I have existed for eons. I cannot be destroyed. An event that bore a hole through the fabric of reality. And still I remain. I persist. And so I will ask you, nicely, one last time. Surrender your power ruby, please. Or I shall rip it from your chest, and you shall experience for yourself what it feels like to have your corporeal form reduced to ash.
I didn't hear a question just now.
And yet I feel like you've already answered. Very well.
It doesn't matter what happens to me. I won't help you. So long as you're trapped here, the rest of the multiverse is...
What? Say? Do you really believe that? Do you really believe that I haven't continued to influence the world outside? You've seen it for yourself countless times. I snatched your ship from Earth's orbit, rewrote your memories, disrupted the flow of time, and that is far from the extent of my powers. You say that you won't help me? You have no idea how much of a help you've already been. You, your friends, even your fellow Rangers, all have served my goals. And I think that it's time you were enlightened.
It's morphin' time!
Let the lesson begin. Come now. Do you really think this will make a difference? All this struggle, all this fighting. You're really only fighting yourself.
Hold it together. Stay focused. Don't let him get to you.
I can see the wheels turning in your mind.
Find something to focus on.
Another review.
Just tune him out.
Something to inspire you.
Just think of
Something to build your strength.
episode 27
Your fortitude.
of Power Rangers Dino Thunder.
Your fighting spirit.
Teen Dino Rangers, Ethan, Kira, and Connor arrive in their base to check in on their mentor, Dr. Tommy Oliver, who currently happens to be trapped in a state of invisibility.
Oh, right. That reminds me. Typical.
What's the point of building your biceps if nobody's gonna see them?
After that impressive bit of superficiality, Tommy reveals that his tech genius partner Haley may just have found a way to fix his predicament with her new remolecularizer. The one catch is that they're going to need a major power source, and Tommy has the perfect thing in mind.
Your little gem can't protect you forever.
Putting aside for a moment why it is that Tommy's black dino gem is way smaller than it was the last time we saw it, let alone randomly visible and in a little plastic box, Haley's big concern is that its power will be far too dangerous. Meanwhile, in a distant hillside, their foe Elsa has the Tyrannodrones excavate for a new power source to call her own.
Let's do a little digging. Found you.
As Elsa retrieves a mysterious glowing crystal from the cavern, Tommy lays down to prepare for the procedure.
See you soon, Dr. O. Literally, I hope.
They pop on some electrodes, load in the black dino gem, initiate the sequence, and everything almost immediately starts to go wrong, as the system starts overloading and Tommy's invisible feet start kicking under his custom-made Dino Thunder logo sheet.
Why don't you take a little rest?
With the energy attenuator shut down, the full current of the remolecularizer shatters Tommy's gem, returning his opacity to 100%, but trapping the veteran ranger in a comatose state.
Your friends can't save you. They have a monster of their own to contend with.
On Mesogog's island, the evil White Ranger clone has provided Elsa with an upgraded version of his Pterosaurus monster. Although their Mesozoic master is skeptical of rebooting a destroyed monster spun off from a clone created by another destroyed monster's arm scan of a reformed evil ranger, Elsa assures him that this creature will be more successful than the long chain of consecutive failures that led to its creation, thanks to the mysterious mineral that matches the makeup of the Dino Gems, which Pterosaurus 2 Electric Boogaloo manages to devour whole without even having to open its mouth.
Now we'll see who has the power.
You got the touch. You got the power.
Unfortunately, Tommy's power levels are at a record low. As for what is the 7th and final time in the history of the series, not counting the Turbo movie, the Power Rangers find themselves at the hospital, where Dr. Walsh expresses concern over his widely erratic brain patterns.
I'm not gonna lie to you. The longer he stays like this, the more at risk he is.
Not even your little doctor friend can help you now.
To make matters worse, Expedition News 9 suddenly pops up on the TV to inform the team that 2 Terror-2saurus is attacking the city, forcing the 3 young Dino Rangers to morph into action and race to the scene on their Raptor cycles. Meanwhile, Tommy faces a challenge of his own, awakening in a red-tinged desert somewhere within the deep recesses of his own mind.
Now, let your first lesson begin. Perhaps you recall the favorite trick of my old student, the Wizard of Deception?
No.
Hello, Tommy. But that's impossible.
It can't be.
Remember me?
Greetings, Ranger. But sure enough, Zeo Ranger 5 Red steps through the arch at the top of the nearby dune and slowly walks toward him.
Who are you? Fun fact, fun fact, fun fact. Creating a loyal and obedient clone from a lock of hair is a fairly simple process, but often imperfect. I believe you experienced interactions with some rushed reproductions in the past, yes? Yes, yes?
Yes?
Those were generated from personality templates based off of your cohorts. Rapid cognitive degeneration, though. Very interesting experiment. But generating a proper host body from the sampled material of a synth-organic biomechanoid, that was a very, very, very different matter.
Host body?
Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes! Our dear Dark Master required a new host body after his last one was destroyed by treachery, and what I believe you recall is episode 292. 292? 292 of the televised Power Rangers series.
Countdown to destruction.
Yes, yes, that's the one, and constructing a new host body for a being as powerful as our dear Dark Master was very challenging endeavor indeed. Very challenging. But fortunately, he had an excellent sample to work with.
The entity that you encountered, it exhibited the same psionic field as
Me. He copied me. That's why we look the same. Have the same signatures.
That is correct. That is absolutely correct. You were an ideal specimen. Almost as if you were designed for such an undertaking. Our dear Dark Master was very fortunate. But it did take several attempts.
Is that what you are? One of those attempts?
Our dear Dark Master knows better than to throw away a useful tool. Besides, we all have the same skills.
Tommy is stunned when his doppelganger from the past suddenly challenges him to a fight. And with his Dino Gem missing in action, he's left with no choice but to face him unmorphed. All the while, his team struggles hard against a very Pterosaur sequel, even with the sudden appearance of Trent and his white Dino ATV, who gets knocked out of the fight with only one single blast.
Man, that Sixth Ranger syndrome hits hard.
Not only is the white Dino Ranger forcibly demorphed, but it appears that his morpher is fried as well. Meanwhile, at the nearby news office, comedic duo Cassidy Cornell and Devin Del Val are called in by their boss, Mr. Cormier. His field reporter is out, so it's up to this pair of high school interns to run headlong into danger and nab some exclusive Ranger footage.
So you must understand how we've studied you, examined you, analyzed you, and we know how to take you apart.
Tommy puts up an impressive fight against his morphed counterpart, as despite taking a few rolls in the mud, he manages to catch a roundhouse from Z05 and throw him spinning away.
I see you got a lot of fight left in you, but is it enough?
Okay, not quite sure how that works.
Zeo Ranger 5 teleports away, leaving Tommy questioning, confused, and still in a coma, as his mind takes him away to a mysteriously desaturated forest.
Why can't echoing laughter ever not be creepy? Why can't it be a nice thing? It feels like it should be a nice thing.
Ironically, that patented Jason David Frank evil laugh is from his one past Ranger form that didn't have a stint being evil, or even having an evil counterpart. The White Mighty Morphin Power Ranger, complete with a silent Saba.
Finally cut that hair, huh, Tommy?
Oh man, that was hilarious. The way you just, and he was just, and you were all, Oh, you're a funny guy, you know that? My subscriber count would argue otherwise.
Unfortunately, Tommy's reunion with his old self is not exactly a happy one, as White Ranger charges him and the two begin to trade blows, ramping up the stakes as he brings out Saba, his dull-edged blade still very much capable of sparking trees and shooting lasers.
You want to know what's really funny? You still haven't learned to keep your guard up!
Tommy's students aren't faring much better in their fight, as Pterosaurs 2, Lost in New York, takes out the Red and Yellow Ranger's powers next, surprisingly leaving the Blue Dino Ranger as the last man standing.
Missed me. Missed again. Whoa, are you even trying?
Even with his toy-exclusive hovercraft cycle, Ethan is still no match for the monster, and joins the others in having his power completely fried out. The teens attempt to regroup and morph, but are shocked to realize that their dinomorphers have all been rendered useless.
Not so tough now, are you?
Cue the monster running away from his clearly powerless adversaries for no apparent reason, except to clear the scene for Cassidy and Devin to arrive and question their classmates about what just happened. Not wanting to blow their secret identities, the quartet claims that they haven't seen anything or anyone resembling the Power Rangers, despite the obvious surrounding damage.
Maybe they're at the laundromat washing those shiny suits.
You want to know what else is really funny? The way you keep fighting us, especially after everything that you and your friends have done to help out already.
What are you talking about?
Oh, come on, what did you think was going to happen? Oh, I'll just jaunt off on a little trip across the multiverse. I'm sure that won't have any unintended consequences.
No.
The Sumerian Forest? Jungle Karma Pizza? Power Morphicon? Every little hop, skip, and jump was just another poke through the fabric of reality. Not to mention that one trick you pulled all on your own. Pulling an entire fabricated apartment through the dimensional barriers and manifesting it in another universe? That's like walking up to the space-time continuum and punching it in the face!
I didn't know.
And that's what makes it so funny!
Tommy continues to battle himself, with his morph form continuing to maintain the upper hand.
Don't forget, I know all your old moves. That might be true, but I learned a few new ones.
Said new moves apparently include hopping off a pair of trees and kicking his opponent's sword away, which I have to admit I would not have seen coming.
You should see the look on your face. And I can't even see your face.
Now we'll see if you can face your toughest challenge.
And with that, the Ranger disappears. Cassidy and Devon return to their boss, nervous over coming back empty-handed. But his reaction is definitely much more jubilant than anticipated.
Are you kidding me? This is huge! Power Rangers abandoned Reefside.
Some hero!
Stop it! This is the biggest story we've had all year.
I'm going to assume that he means since the new year, considering I would imagine that the biggest story of the past 12 months would have been a new team of Power Rangers appearing in Reefside to begin with at the beginning of the school year, but either way, this means that he's ready to give Cassidy her own spot on the evening news. However, without having the full story and not wanting to besmirch the good name of the Rangers, Devon decides to nope out of the whole thing.
I said, stop it!
Left with nothing else to do, the Rangers check in on Tommy, and despite no change, they remain convinced that he will tough it out.
Dr. Oliver's pretty tough, Kira. I mean, he gave me a C- in my term paper.
Before we can focus on the fact that Tommy hasn't been in class for months and almost certainly missed midterms, we're distracted by conveniently interrupting Exposition News 9, which at this point exists solely for guilt tripping.
Where are the Power Rangers?
So where are you? Where's the next one?
Tommy now finds himself in green forested ruins, waiting for his next opponent to arrive, until suddenly the Dragon Dagger appears in the tree next to him, complete with a copyright-friendly jingle. And sure enough, the original green Mighty Morphin Power Ranger has arrived to face him.
So, what do you have to say? Okay. Something's not right about you.
But rather than focus on the silver helmet stripe, the silver morpher, or the flipped holster that all work to reinforce the idea that Tommy's memory is still as spotty as ever, the two jump straight into combat.
Strong silent type, huh?
Green Ranger and Tommy match each other blow for blow, until Green gets the upper hand and takes back the Dragon Dagger, which has apparently been upgraded to summon both earthquakes and lightning, which would have been really handy for Tommy to know just a moment ago.
What the? How did... But you're not even morphed!
Sick of listening to newsman McGiltrip, the Rangers decide to go back to action anyway, powers or not, meeting up with Pterosaurs 2 the Quickening out in the nearby quarry, despite the news report clearly showing an attack on the city, and charge through his string of explosions, showing off their impressive civilian fighting skills, though oddly enough, none of their other civilian powers, like super speed, arm shields, sonic screams, or camouflage, which all really seem like they'd come in handy here.
Speaking of which,
Tommy and his past self continue to literally throw each other around, with Green Ranger launching a broken column that sends Tommy flying to the ground.
Why don't you just give up the fight? That's the one thing I'll never do. Then I guess it's over.
Stop.
You passed the test.
Tommy is confused, but his other past selves, sans Red Turbo, soon arrive to explain.
fascinating specimen, isn't he? Simply remarkable. Pure instinct and obedience rolled into one. And the funny thing is, he's the one closest to you.
What?
It's true. When your synth organic structure is recreated in its purest form, this is the result. This guy, Mr. No Personality Living Weapon, that's the real you.
No, that can't be.
They explain that he hasn't really been fighting against them, but for his own survival.
And you've proven your will to live is stronger than any Ranger power.
Together, they return the shattered pieces of his black dino gem.
Good luck, Black Ranger.
You've put so much faith in your power as a ranger, but it's time for you to wake up.
Tommy awakens in his hospital bed next to an overjoyed Haley, his dino gem magically restored in the palm of his hand.
You are here in my hands, and it's time you realize that simply being a Power Ranger was never going to save you. You are, and always have been, a weapon, just like all those Rangers before you. And weapons can be used by anyone, just so long as you have the right key.
Where did you get that?
Oh, it's very simple. I forged it. I forged all of the Ranger keys, along with the help of my dark child, who I believe has just arrived.
Master, I have completed my task.
Excellent, my child. I shall be with you shortly.
Yes, Master.
You see, it's already over. There's no escape for you. Your friends are already mine. Your fellow Power Rangers have already danced to my designs. Every single one that you have ever known already serves me, whether they know it or not. No one is coming to save you.
Cassidy begins her report on the Reefside Nightly News, informing the entire city that the Rangers have abandoned them, while Cormier looks on in pride and glee. But
this reporter is here to say the Rangers would never do that.
Database, if you can hear me, just hold on.
she tells the people of Reefside to have faith in the Rangers who have protected them for so long, even as the Rangers themselves continue to struggle through their battle.
You haven't won yet.
What was that?
You haven't beaten me, so you haven't won. And you won't, because all it takes is one. One person left who's still willing to fight you. And I'm not done!
Tommy leaps into action to deliver a flying kick against Terror v. Saurus Dawn of Terror, much to his students' shock.
You're alive!
Did anyone give you a reason to think otherwise?
Tommy morphs into the Black Dino Thunder Power Ranger and charges straight into battle.
I suppose you will need another lesson after all.
He quickly drives the monster off the edge of a cliff and activates his Super Dino mode for the first time, refusing to hold back after having just fought the fight of his life.
Dude! That was hilarious! Ooh.
The Black Ranger matches the monster blow for blow, slashing with his dino spikes and hurling it into the cliffside. To finish the job, he draws his Brachio staff and summons a powerful energy orb to blow the monster to smithereens.
Yeah. Not funny. Definitely not.
Then let's see how you like this. Ruby Blast!
No!
With Pterosaurus and the Deathly Hollows defeated, the mysterious mineral is shattered, returning the powers of all the other Rangers. Unfortunately, unlike the original, this new and improved reboot is able to come back bigger and badder than ever.
Now that's a bit more like it.
Connor, Kira, and Ethan embrace their own powers, morphing back into Rangers and summoning their Thundersaurus Megazord to battle against Pterosaurus 2 The Return, who is still as tough as ever.
Finally, after all this time. What? Nothing to say? No more boasts? No more tricks?
Just one. Inspired by Dr. O's return, the Rangers activate their Super Dino modes, powering up their Megazord in a way unlike ever before.
Look behind you.
And with that, they drive their Dino Drill straight into the heart of Pterosaurus 2 in The Last Crusade, pinning the monster against a mountain range and blowing it apart, annihilating the sinister sequel once and for all.
Database, be ready! Database, we see you! You need to move fast!
Right. No!
With the battle won, the Rangers all return to the base, where the teens are all blown away by the tale of Tommy's dream, with Ethan even describing it as all the Power Rangers universes lining up, despite no clear multiverse being established in the franchise at that point. But the important thing is,
I just want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for hanging in there with me through all this.
And with that heartfelt message delivered half to the teens and half to the audience themselves, Dr. Tommy Oliver is finally back to stay. And that's the end of the episode. So, what did I think of it? Well, more than any other season since the end of the Zordon era, Dino Thunder prided itself on its attention to its characters and their relation to the Power Rangers legacy. This was partially due to being a classically Dino-themed season and having the 500-episode milestone, but honestly, the biggest legacy element was always the inclusion of Jason David Frank's Tommy Oliver in the main cast, a return that had been rumored for years, but never really taken seriously until the first Dino Thunder trailer finally premiered. And you can hardly blame anyone for being skeptical. After all, this was well before Paul Schreier's return as Farkas Bulkmeyer years later in Power Rangers Samurai. And ever since Countdown to Destruction, the seasons had become increasingly disconnected over time, with Power Rangers Ninja Storm moving production to New Zealand and being completely devoid of any crossovers.
You guys have to lay off the comic books, seriously. Power Rangers, whatever.
Of course, now we know that continuity wasn't the only thing to survive.
Look out! What?
Countdown to Destruction. But in many ways, fighting spirit was almost an inevitability. Forever Red had opened the door for old-school returning Rangers during Wild Force, and the return of Doug Sloan and Ann Austin as producers during Ninja Storm meant that the production still had ties to the classic Mighty Morphin era, with both producers having left shortly before Jason David Frank's original departure from the show, further reinforcing the sense of Dino Thunder acting as a reunion. And with Sloan being an active presence on Ranger Board during Ninja Storm, and seeing the fan response to the disconnects from the past, reaching out to reunite just made sense. Of course, not all reunions are easy.
Okay, we need to move.
In the years since leaving the show, Frank had built up his own martial arts school based around his reputation, and spending an entire year in New Zealand away from his business and his family was not really an option. But with ADR being such a prominent aspect of Power Rangers production, an alternative was devised where Frank could return home for several months in the middle of filming without losing their fan-favorite character. Tommy would be granted the power of invisibility by his Dino Gem, and later become trapped in the invisible form that we saw, or didn't see, here, after a series of events that first left him trapped in amber, and then left him trapped in his ranger suit, functionally turning him into an ADR exclusive character, much like a typical villain or monster of the day. So of course, when he finally did return after a 13-episode hiatus, it had to be big.
Swat him, Kay!
No matter how you may feel about Tommy, there's no question that he's become intrinsically linked to the history of the franchise, to the extent that I can imagine him returning for more anniversary episodes years down the line. Part of this is due to his martial arts prowess, and part of it is due to the original impact of being the first ever 6th Ranger. But a huge part of it is simply the massive prominence that the character was given during the course of his record-breaking tenure as a Ranger, evolving from outsider to white knight to leader, and finally to mentor and teacher, all of which is placed on display here in this episode. Plus his trademark evil laugh. Of course, one of the challenges of there being so many iterations of the character is establishing any clear defining characteristics to act as a through line. After all, he's been adapted from a vengeful ancient warrior, a bratty kid, a military commander, a goofy test driver, and an alternate universe dino warrior. So when you get right down to it, the trait focused on here is the only one that really makes sense. His persistence. Because, like it or not, some characters refuse to stay gone. And that sense of never giving up is the core through line of the episode. We see it in Tommy struggling through his coma and Haley staying by his side. We see it in the other Rangers fighting on without him and later continuing to fight without their powers. We see it in Devon refusing to give up on his principles and inspiring Cassidy to do the same by openly committing to her faith in the Rangers. And we even see it in our villains, as the final Zord battle is literally against a resurrected recreation of a spin-off of a cloned evil Ranger. Of course, just like anything else, it's not without its problems.
Don't make me tear this tin can apart, Phantom.
Fortunately, most of these are issues that can be easily dealt with. The inconsistencies in the Green Ranger costume can be shrugged off as existing purely in Tommy's memory, where reflections and comparisons to his fellow Rangers could easily distort his internalized self-image. The changing size of the Dino Gem could be tied to its integration into the Brachiomorpher, as we have seen that the gems embedded in bracelets are notably smaller than they were on their own. Even the lack of Turbo Red could be seen as an acknowledgement that Tommy truly does see the role as belonging more to TJ than to himself, especially after Forever Red. The dialogue may seem a bit clunky at times,
You're alive!
But when you get right down to it, these are nitpicks that do little to detract from the inspirational tale being told here.
Kay, I'm gonna get his attention. Be ready to hit the thrusters on my mark.
Affirmative.
Overall, Fighting Spirit is a wonderful celebration of what it means to be a Power Ranger, as seen through the lens of one of its most enduring characters, presenting excellent action, striking use of color, nice nods to the past, and high personal stakes to demonstrate that sometimes even the most experienced among us can struggle with the self-actualization necessary to unlock the true power that was hidden inside us the whole time. Speaking of which...
Hey, Lava Breath! I'm done hiding! Phantom Laser! No! Now, Kay!
Hold on! Database, are you still with us?
To the end of the line, Kay. To the end of the line.
Good work, Ranger.
Now, if I could only figure out what the deal is with that voice. It sounds so familiar. If only I could place it...
Let the power
Wait.
protect you.
Zordon?